Okay, I just set my timer for 45 minutes on my phone, and then I've got to get dressed and go get my little guy from kindergarten. But I am going to talk about kind of what got me through the last little rough patch that I hit a few days ago. Of kind of, it's just like, it was just some minor thing that caused a chain reaction of like what we call the straw that broke the camel's back kind of thing. And so I was really super down and having a really hard time figuring out how to get through that. So I'm also, while I'm talking about that, going to do my makeup because I figure that's at least a little more interesting than just a head talking about philosophy and such. And I thought I'd kind of theme it with what I'm talking about today. So I am going to kind of do a half light, half dark, good, evil, if you will. Just because really that's kind of the essence of what ended up bringing me to a better place. So of course, everybody has been through some craziness over this last year. I think it's one of those things that's kind of interesting because everyone alive has not been through a collective experience like this before. Doesn't matter what you think about it, what your political views are, your philosophical views, where you live on this earth, doesn't matter. In some way, you were affected by this pandemic. And so as we're kind of winding down, hopefully, fingers crossed, and more of our population does not have to worry about contracting and spreading this virus, it's going to be time to resume normal-ish life. And I've been struggling with how to do that because this has been really super hard. I mean, everybody that has been taking the precautions than the guidelines suggested, it's been hard to stand by and watch other people live their lives in more of a free way without really concern for it. And rather than get into that too much more, because it's neither here nor there, we're moving forward, I think that what's important here to remember is that we are all good, we are all evil. Within us is the capacity for both. I think we're all aware of that as well. And typically where I stand is thinking that the aggregate good is more than the bad. And I believe, sorry, I can't find what I need. I believe in the goodness of humans, that love is more powerful than hate. This is something I've been trying to incorporate into the way I live and the way I treat others. And to have that bubble kind of burst and start to think, you know what, are humans actually 51% or more good when you take everything worldwide into account? Or are we more bad? Are we more evil? And I realize why I lost sight of the fact that I know that it's 51% or more, because as some of my friends pointed out to me, and I needed to be reminded, when we have these moments of existential crisis, if you will, it's almost always projection. You know, it's everything. Everything is projection. So I was feeling dissatisfied with myself. I wasn't operating at 51% or better of my capacity of harnessing what is important about being a human and what connects us to one another. Instead of reminding myself that we are all imperfect creatures that are doing the best we can with what we have at the time, instead of reminding myself of that, I allowed all the things that I've been coming to realize over the past decade or so to kind of hit me all at once, as far as how our society functions, how our economy functions. We are a nation of consumers, and we know that if you live in the industrialized worlds, the first worlds, the worlds who are now part of the globalized network, the digital network, if you participate in one of those societies, you are purchasing goods that were made at the detriment of either other people or other parts of the planet, adding pollution to where already impoverished people live. I mean, this is just a fact. This shouldn't matter what your ideology is. This is something we know. And as Americans, we are particularly high offenders of this. The amount of fuel and energy that we consume, the amount of meat that we consume, the amount of waste that we create, it is a problem. And I started really getting down, thinking I have no way to be a good person, really, because if I go about my life in society knowing that we are contributing to other people's suffering and the domino effect of negative impacts on the ecosystem. We are connected. This is something that we know, and how can I just ignore it? Put the blinders on, as I said. And it is a matter of survival. My cousin reminded me of that, and it's so very true, because what can you do? Okay, even if I could pick up and move my family, which I can't because we share kids with other people, even if I could do that, what am I going to do? How is running away going to save anybody? It's not. All that stuff is still happening, and the problem is it feels such an insurmountable problem, because it's so vast, and the people who are gaining the most from the current system are at the top of the food chain when it comes to their place in society. And it's really hard to think of actually combating that in any meaningful way. But I digress. Let me just quick say, I just put regular foundation and stuff on just to kind of get a base anytime I'm going to do any kind of funky makeup. I still almost always start with that just so everything sticks well. So I'm going to start getting to the good and bad side makeup wise. And I think I'm going to go dark and reds on one side, and then kind of light golden metallic sort of on this side. We'll see how far I get. I got a little less than 40 minutes, and then I get to go. I'm going to Goodwill to go shopping. That should be interesting. So I'm going to be embracing the look and rocking it, because hey, why not? I mean, really, why not? You only live once. That's, I know, a stupid little slogan, is that what you call it? But it's true. You just enjoy the gifts that you have, and that's a hard thing sometimes, because we don't want to be too caught up in ourselves. We don't want to be self-important, and you certainly don't want to usually come across as a braggart or somebody who is conceited. But recognizing the gifts that we have is really important to ourselves, and it's kind of what we owe humanity. So that's why I really like doing makeup. I like doing theatrical stuff. I don't mind if people think I'm a little weird or whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So I am rambling on now. We'll get back to the topic at hand. But so as I was feeling extremely sad about the fact that there was seemingly no option where I could exist in modern society as an American and not be complicit with the crimes against humanity that are going on because of our consumerism. But it's the way it is. Okay, that sucks, right? Yeah, it does. But what can I do? I say, well, that's it. I give up. I can't really have a significant enough of an impact to be worth it anyway. So why even bother, and sit down and give up? But another good friend, Bree, pointed out, that she goes, that's not you, Jen. You're not going to be okay with that. You can try to put your head in the sand and ignore, but that's not you. And I think the reason I was starting to forget everything about who I am and what I need to be as a human is from the lack of those things that has been present over this last year. Not having those connections with other humans and being reminded that the goodness is there. Just having those connections, going to see music. I believe that aside from love, one of the really only special important things that humans do is create art in whatever form that is. It's something that's truly unique. You can't it's truly unique. Excuse me. So after coming to the conclusion that I can't just kind of lay down and give up, what can you do? I mean, I want to be there for myself, for my husband, for my kids, for my family, for my friends. I don't want to just be a pile of sadness and cynicism. Again, if I'm going to be thinking, well, you only live once, what is the point of being depressed and sad about things you can't control? I like the saying that worry is like walking around with an umbrella waiting for it to rain. You don't just carry it around all the time. It's pointless. It's just going to drag you down. So I need to let go of all of that worry and move forward and be reminded about the fact that I am just as good, just as bad as every other human. There are times in our lives where we allow ourselves to indulge those, what maybe you call them 7 deadly sins, whatever those things are that can lead to corruption and acts of hate instead of goodness. Those temptations are always there, and they're in all of us. And regardless of how I or anyone else handles any particular situation, we all have the capacity for good. We all have the capacity for evil. To move forward, trying to do the most goodness that you can is the only option. It almost feels silly now how upset I was, because it's clear that there's no other choice. There really isn't another choice in this matter. You have to do something, so you might as well enjoy it. So after literally just crying and sleeping for, I don't know, like 2 days, I barely even ate. And if I am feeling down, I am a bottomless pit. I want to consume everything that is bad for me, and I didn't eat anything. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is serious. I don't want to eat. This is serious business. And I even slept through the night when was our family night, and that's important to us. We only get 1 weeknight with all the kids together, and I never just sit that out because I can't see the light, and I was PMSing, thank goodness, because at least then that goes away. But it was really tough, and I knew that I didn't want to feel that way, and that I am the one in control of my reaction, of my feelings, and what I do to change those things. To think more clearly, I needed to clear my mind, do those things that I enjoy that I've been lacking. So I decided to take a day to myself. Atticus is now in full day school, so I better get started on this. I'm going to run out of time. he's in full day school, so I had Friday to myself, and I went out to Two Rivers and bought a vintage serving bowl, and then I had heard that there's this place out there called Cleveland Cycle Works. It's just off of Washington Street. Like, I think it was attached to Unique Flying Objects for anybody who is familiar with Two Rivers. And I cannot remember who. I hope whoever told me sees this, because I really wonder. Somebody was telling me how it's a really cool place and they've got, like a mini skate park kind of thing in there. And so I decided I really need to meet some good humans again. I need to connect with people who are doing good, because without those reminders, of course you're going to get bogged down. I am a human. I do not have the superpower of staying positive 100% of the time without outside encouragement, support, and restoration of faith in humanity. So I pulled up and went in there, and the owner there, Michael, he was a really nice guy, and he's got this awesome setup. They've got a little skate park in there. They work on bikes. He has bike parts in there. And then in the back, they also have an arcade with a bunch of games that he's collected. And he also has different kind of fun little collectibles on display. And then I guess that his fiance is going to be setting up a massage area with tea and crystals and candles and things. And that's kind of joined to that. So that's awesome. It's Two Rivers. They're known for being very small, typically being on the older side and not being overly progressive. While I was talking to, oh, what? Look at me. See, I got all distracted and forgot I was doing two different things, because how often do you ever do two different eyeballs, two different eye makeups? All right. Well, that wasn't too much, so that shouldn't be a problem. I will put some let's go yellow. Let's just put on a yellow base, but I'll kind of put some flesh color just right over the top of that. Okay, what was I saying? When I was speaking to the owner there, Michael, he was saying how he was from the Milwaukee area, and when he relocated, he was very surprised at how much racism was still present in our area, and it is kind of a shocker, and it's really disheartening. And knowing that people who are in demographics other than normal old white people, you're kind of an outsider. And I think it's really cool that part of what he wanted to do was create a place that everybody is welcome, everybody can come. So if you live in this area and you haven't checked it out, go check it out, because they're doing cool stuff. Sorry, my leg, I gotta set it differently a little bit here. So then after visiting him, I was like, well, that was pretty awesome. And I thought, I was in Two Rivers, and they have a really nice beach there, in Neshota Beach. And I thought I'll go to the beach. And as I was heading that way, I went past what is called Basil Ishkabibel's Art Gallery. And I knew that this had opened, and there's this awesome lady, Darla, there. She's super cool. She's just super cool. She's one of these people who just knows all these artistic, creative people, and is always doing something to engage in the community, to get creativity out to accessible, and to get artists from our area and even around the world having a place for their things to be seen and to be purchased. So I decided, I haven't been there yet. I'm going to stop there. And once again, so happy I did, because she is a super awesome person, and she really lifted my hopes. And of course, walking around and looking at the different artwork was also really cool. I should show you. I bought a couple things, one of which I'm excited to show the kids. There's an author that made a book series about Point Beach State Park, which is where Josh and I got married, where we celebrated Atticus's birthday, and it's kind of like one of our special spots in our family history. We love going camping there. We love going to day trips there. Anyway, so there's a book, and this first one is something about the mystery of the Sunday, because the Sunday is supposedly invented in two rivers. So I don't know. We'll have to see. It looked like a cute little story that the kids would like. And I picked up a couple little buttons, and you know what? I'll put a picture in the comments. I don't know. I'm not used to this whole YouTube thing, but I thought that it might be a good idea to make the switch away from Facebook a little bit more and onto a different platform, connecting in a different way. I know that it will not just avoid all the issues that come with social media and connecting digitally, but it seemed like it was a good time to try something a little different, and I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to approach it yet, but I'd like to start documenting some of the things that I am now planning to do moving forward to remind myself of the importance of all those things I was just saying, connecting with humans and creativity, basically anything in that, and nature. I was forgetting to, oh yeah, it was winter. It's been winter. So in addition, anybody who lives in a cold climate is well aware that winters can be kind of tough at times. This winter, of course, particularly so. So I can't wait to get more into nature. I was fortunate that on Saturday I was able to take a day with my darling husband, and we went to Green Bay and we bought a couch that actually is still in the Ford Flex in the driveway that needs to be brought in at some point, but we decided to make a day of it, and we stayed the entire day in Green Bay and walked around the downtown over and over. And Josh and I both really enjoy doing that, getting out and city walking together. It's one of our favorite things to do, and of course it's really hard to do that in winter time, so it was much needed, and we talked about a lot of things, and that's when I had my aha moment of how I really need to process my anger, my disappointment in humanity, which really is okay. When hydration, so key. When I am going about my business, doing my normal life with my blinders of survival onto the things that I can't control, I know that my actions can have a negative impact sometimes on others. That is how this works in society right now, in our economy. That's how this works. So I am doing that with what I am equipped with. I am making the best decisions I can, and I have to remember that that is what every other human is doing as well. Regardless of where they are at, they are in the process of their own struggles, their own path, their own inner battle between the light and the dark. And I am thankful that I feel fairly well equipped by my upbringing and by my circumstances and by my relative intelligence and health, able-bodiedness. So I have an advantage there. I have an advantage in my thought processes, and I've come across different people and made different realizations that not everybody has had the opportunity to, and holding that against them and somehow feeling that I should, shut out humans? Is that the answer? No, we are social creatures. We need one another. We need interaction. Why are we living in societies instead of out in the woods? Why do we put up with the rules, the regulations, the BS of dealing with other humans? Because it provides safety and economic opportunity. If you were out in the woods, all of that is your responsibility. You now spend your entire life toiling to stay alive. When we specialize in things and allow ourselves to benefit from the gifts of others, from their what they produce, we then don't have to be specializing in every little thing we need to stay alive. Instead, we can enjoy more of our lives. And I think that just being thankful, that's one thing I'm definitely coming to conclude is gratitude is everything. That is not going to come to a surprise to anybody who's given it much thought, but gratitude is so key, because that is how everything can be rationalized. Everything that's happening is what's supposed to be happening, because it is what's happening. It can be no other way. So to get caught in your own mind is ridiculous. Why? There's so little in this world, in our lives, that we have control over. There's so little that we can do to affect our conditions, that when there is an action, we have the reaction. That is where our control comes in, and that is it. So you might as well, to the best of your ability, make decisions that make you happy and have the least negative effect possible on other people. Another thing that I feel like I needed to really remind myself of, I've spoken to people before about Sam Harris, that I think he is a very smart and insightful individual. He does have some opinions I don't agree with, and learning that was hard for me, reminding myself again, he is human. He is not perfect. We don't have to agree about everything in order for me to learn from what he knows and potentially strengthen my own opinions about whatever it might be. But one thing that he had said in one of his podcasts, I always do that so you don't make streaks. I don't know if that's a normal thing, but if you brush it right away, then you get those little streaks from the color. But Sam Harris, he said that we are not all in the same boat. That's a nice little saying that people like to say, right? We're all in the same boat here. No, we're not. We're in the same ocean. We're in the same body of water. We're in the same storm, trying to weather this storm. And some of us are in yachts, and some of us are clinging to pieces of wood, and then everything in between. In order to advance humanity to a point that we can help more of the people that are clinging to those chunks of wood, we have to have the fancy ships that have the research facilities, that have the equipment and technology necessary to figure out how to help people who are impoverished, who are suffering, whose struggle is so much more severe than our own. And that, you can't ignore that fact. You get it when feeling like, well, what good does our spoiled consumerist society even do? It's easy to forget that there are actually lots and lots and lots of people that are putting their life's work into bettering the circumstances of others. So, hey, here's another realization right now. Maybe my little bout of hopelessness was brought on by my own guilt that I'm not doing enough. That's not something I should then again now internalize and feel bad about. It is something that I should use to be grateful that I have the capability to do more. And like I said, that's actually what I kind of want to do with this. I'm going to start this channel that I think I'm going to call Embracing Humanity in Real Life, because it's not always as easy as the quotes that I pin on Pinterest. When you're actually having to interact with other imperfect humans and respond in our own imperfect ways, then it is a little trickier. So, coming up, not tomorrow, but the following day, I am going to go down to Milwaukee with my friend Bree, and we are going to go to a place called Trickleby Cafe. If you haven't heard of it, it is the first and only current pay what you can model restaurant. They actually are also a vegan restaurant, I believe, but that's not. There are other places in other states that are doing this, and while being healthy is definitely one of the motivations, having quality food, fresh food, and healthy options, it doesn't necessarily have to be vegetarian or vegan. Anyway, so they, I guess, have actually continued to thrive during the pandemic, that they now have started to rely on 80% of optional donations from people, versus I think when they started it was 60% grants and 40% supported by the community. So to make that shift is amazing. That's awesome. So I am going to go with my friend Bree, and we're going to go volunteer and see what that's like. I'd really like to maybe try to start doing smaller, like pop-up events where we engage with the community, have food for everyone. If you can contribute, awesome. If you can't, you are still just as welcome, because the idea that we were, again, are all in this together. We all benefit when the weakest in our society benefit. How can we grow as an economy until we stop leaving the ones behind who don't have the means to properly nourish themselves? Children who are getting too much sugar, too much processed food, not enough fruits and vegetables, just simply will not be able to perform in the school at their best, and their building blocks of their body are not going to be built as well without what is needed, those necessary nutrients, minerals, everything that's found in real food. So I'd like to start trying to connect with partners who would be interested in donating food and perhaps sponsoring events, and getting the ball rolling here with what's happening at Trickleby. I think is going to be a really great way to get started, and I'm really excited to help such a worthy cause. When I first learned about it, another friend, Darlene, she had posted about that Trickleby and what they were doing, and I thought that it was such a cool idea. When you work in the restaurant industry, it can be a little bit disheartening at times. It can burn you out. It just feels like you are the low man on the totem pole. Everybody's just bossing you around. You're not allowed to have an opinion, really, because you're just a lowly service worker. And I'll tell you, this pandemic sure hasn't helped. We were the essentially disposable servers or sector. It's like you are just supposed to be thankful that you have the opportunity to work. So don't complain. Don't acknowledge the fact that you don't have paid time off. You don't get sick time. You probably don't have insurance unless you're just poor enough to get it from the state. And it's been tough. It's been really tough. So to get out of the industry while still using the skills and gifts that I have formed in my time in the service industry, and also my knowledge of nutritional health. I am currently trying, as always, to increase the amount of nourishment I put into my body and decrease the amount of junk. I fall off the wagon all the dang time, but it's just something that you just keep working on. So I really care about nutrition. I think it's really important factor. I think that it needs to come to the foreground more, because the saying "you are what you eat's" no joke. That is just, it's science. Can't deny science, right? Well, we won't go there. But so being able to make the connection that food creates in community. Survival depends on food, and we have it pretty easy by comparison to about 99.9% of humans that have ever lived. We don't have to toil all the time simply to eat, that eating is survival. And in harder times, offering food to somebody, offering a place at your table, breaking bread together, saying, I care about your survival. I want to give my life sustaining food to you. I want to share this with you. So it has always been a huge part of what brings humans together. If you think about, too, I took a class on U.S. immigration history, and the realization that food is so often the main courier of culture. When we think about our heritage, whether you're German, Romanian, or South American, whatever, it doesn't matter. But what you think about, I bet pretty high up on the list is food. Oftentimes, especially once a family might migrate to a new country, the next generations, they might have kind of a hard time embracing some of the traditional garb. Some of the singing and dancing gets lost along the way. It happens. Culture gets lost with modernization as we blend together. But I'll tell you what, food, that one, that's what everybody holds on to and what everybody remembers. And let's face it too, when you have a new culture introduced to you, it's intimidating because we don't understand the social norms, and social norms are how we are able to connect with others before we actually know them. So I understand that when we come across a new culture, it can be intimidating. But one way that, or the main way that we bridge that gap is with food. Think about what you know about cultures from particularly other continents. What do you know about the Thai culture? I bet you know a few Thai dishes, but how many can you count to 10? Probably not. Do you know who the current leader is? Who any leader there has been? I mean, I'm sure that some people do, of course, just because a lot of us don't. But almost everybody knows one or two Thai dishes for food. So it is that thing that first makes us feel familiarity with an unknown culture, a foreign culture to us. Food is super powerful. A lot of times that is that olive branch type thing where, again, we're in this together. Come to my table. I will share my food with you. What do you think of these flavors, of these spices, of my family recipe? These things are important, and it immediately reminds us of our humanity, that's what we have in common. We are all eating, breathing, sleeping, drinking, all those things. It's no different from one person to the next. What you eat and how you live can be, but what we need is the same, and being reminded of that through food is, I think it's one of the easiest ways to be reminded of that. All right, well, so I've rambled on a little bit. I don't have a ton of time, so I need to start moving a little quicker here. Okay, let's see. I need to do some dark blush. Okay, so I'm gonna try taking this and woo-wee. Let's see how this goes. I guess I gotta start moving a little quicker on the makeup part because I don't want to completely run out of time and be half finished. And I was hoping to have something a little more finished than this, but so far, okay, dimple, that's good. So far, I've got the eye makeup coming along. Obviously, this side's a little shadowy from all the dark. And then I think we need to start adding some shimmer. I'm going to use a little sponge and some of this illuminating coverage. I don't have fancy makeup because it costs too much, and I don't do my makeup all that often anymore, really. Makeup is one of those interesting things that I've gotten to have a complicated relationship with. I don't know, dynamic. Oh, that sounds better. I like that. Because I realized I had reached a point where I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin unless I was wearing makeup. And that doesn't seem like a good thing for self-confidence. I don't want to feel like I'm only acceptable if I've modified my face to a non possible state of, not perfection, because not, of course, not perfect still, but you could not possibly look that finished. And it's setting the bar so high for ourselves that I realized I wanted to get comfortable with not wearing makeup. So I still do. Sometimes I just don't always. I don't want it to feel like something that I have to do or I can't leave the house. And I've decided to start pushing the boundaries on the what's normal with makeup, because that's pretty fun too. You have this ability to completely change the way that your face looks, and nobody can really say anything about it. It's all your own interpretation, and it's a great way to kind of express creativity and personality. And anybody that knows my sweetie and I knows that we like to go to electronic music events. And I'll tell you what, getting to dress up and go to these different festivals and raves and parties and whatnot has been super fun. It's a great place to be able to express yourself in a different way and not really even be looked at like you're a weirdo. And I have gotten so many compliments on all the crazy different makeup things I've done, and it's been really fun to play with. And kind of instead of trying to make myself look like an unattainable version of a perfect woman, trying to make myself look like more decorated, like an animal or something tribal, or like it's fun. It really is. And I don't know, in the end, you'll be surprised, I think, if you give it a try, how many people actually embrace it instead of just being like, oh my God, she is so weird. What is her problem? Like, even if they do that when you're not, after they finish talking to you, who cares? Who cares? Other people's opinion is none of your business. I've used that many times to help me get through some times when it was hard for me to know that people didn't like me or looked at me poorly or whatever it might be. And in the end, not to be like just throwing out quotes nonstop, but another one I really like is that live your life in a way that if someone were to speak badly about you, nobody would believe them. And I know I'm not acing that 100% of the time, but I certainly do try to live that way and correct behaviors that I don't feel have a positive impact on others. Every time you make a choice to do something, to say something, to go somewhere, and in any way react or respond to another human, you have the ability to either treat them nicely, treat them poorly, have them come away feeling better about themselves, have them come away feeling worse about themselves. Why not make it positive? There's so much negativity in the world. Why not make it positive? So that's what I'm trying to do. My little red marker, I can't find the sharpener, and it's like pushed inside of itself. So this is kind of a weird thing. But one of the other things that I got into with wearing the funky makeup to parties and other music events is that I try to make it a little bit messy when I do those things, just so that way as I'm dancing and sweating and it starts to move around, it just kind of is part of it. Doing dark, kind of creepy, sexy makeup is fun too. It's kind of fun to throw people off, like, oh, she's kind of scary, but she kind of looks sexy too. Weird, I don't know. I'm a weirdo. I like that. And yeah, it's been a fun outlet to have. And then you also don't have to worry about looking perfect. Makeup doesn't stay put. I want to go to music events to dance. I do not want to have to worry about looking perfect and not sweating. I see that my time is starting to run out, so I'm going to put lipstick on. It seems really weirdly quiet. Maybe I'll put the, okay, I'll finish this. I'll put the lipstick on, then I'll take a picture at the end. Um, but yeah, so I'm started, not quite done with the light and the dark, as the reminder that the yin and the yang of humanity is the yin and the yang that is within us. Light needs dark, good needs evil. I'm going to throw another quote out there just because apparently that's what I'm doing. It was like an old, I think, Chinese proverb that the grandfather is talking to the grandson, and he says that there's two wolves inside every man, a good one and an evil one.